that was amazing, right? The students, really think they react now. First of all, I want to thank Stephanie and Curie. That was really wonderful. You did a great job with the questions. And, you could tell that they were, what wonderful students. I mean, for me, that was partly how I was impressed, not having the opportunity to engage with students directly very much. It really was inspiring to me to hear the passions of these students, the seriousness with which they want to reach their goals. And then, of course, also, we didn't plan this. I mean, we were fully prepared for critiques, and all of the student panels that I have been part of at different institutions or have watched on webinars, you invariably get critiques, that are uncomfortable but important to hear. So, they weren't coached. So this was very positive and pretty reflective. We know it's a small group, but still really says a lot to our faculty and our staff. So we just, we've never done this before, and this is, we just want to talk about this, hear what you were thinking. We kind of huddled and talked about what we heard, but we'd like to just open it up now and get your impressions about this. This is partly a reflection on, what was surprising about what you heard, what opportunities did you hear based on the needs that you heard. So Lisa has a mic right there. I think, Nance, did you raise your hand? Oh, there it goes.
I don't think it comes too much as a surprise, but I think what was very much relevant or evident in each of the students was that they felt that they're truly supported through student services in the areas such as DSPS or apps, whichever, and that they were getting that support and guidance through the counselors that was much needed. But it was also evident that they saw those counselors 3, 4, 5 times, okay? So, and I think that's a big key right there.
Nance, I would agree. I've looked at quantitative research data that at many colleges, many students don't see counselors much at all. That was really amazing. Each and every one had several meetings with counselors. To me, that speaks really well of the college, the access and the service that they're getting. So yeah, very pronounced, excellent. Anyone else from the audience? Denise.
Hi, everyone. I thought it was great that they did see counselors like Nan said, but one thing that I thought was, we have office hours every day or every week, and I didn't hear really any of them say, well, when they're in trouble, they go to the instructor during their office hours. So I would like to say that maybe we could encourage students to do that as well, because that's why we have them, so we can help them.
Good morning, everyone. But definitely, I can just echo what Denise says. We, when we meet with the students and they say they have trouble with classes, sometimes we'll walk the students to the instructors, especially during their office hours, so they can meet. So we need always to make sure that the bridge is there, and also to have them use tutorial services, because we need to use it. But I would want to know more about what kind of resources we could give them if they're taking face-to-face or online, because I know a lot of our students take online courses, and I want to see where we could best help them on the online platforms.
Very good. Taking notes.
Yeah.
Elena's got what you want to comment.
Well, good early afternoon, everyone. One thing I found quite impressive was this one student on the end that indicated that she only needed one more course at YO2, and then to see all the administrators as well as a board member to go to the stage and say, we'll make it happen for you. That was simply amazing. And if we can continue to portray that actions, behavior, as well as words and acknowledgement, to all of our students, it'd be absolutely amazing. So I'm looking forward to actually seeing that class open up for that one student, and I'm sure more students will follow that. But if that's going to be our reaction moving forward, we are definitely on the pathway to success, really helping our students to finish their 2-year plan. So thank you, administrators and board members, for going to the rescue of that one student that needed that class. That's it.
Good morning, everyone. As a new member of the Barstow Community College community, I want to say I'm highly impressed and proud to be a part of this program, especially because I'm an alumni and I have my own experiences going back to the 80s. Things have changed, students have changed, our community has changed, and we need to work together. And one of the things that I want to strive to do is to learn what each one of your departments do. That way I can be a referral service and hand them over to you for your services. And I invite you to also learn about the adult education, especially our local consortium, because we're going to be getting a lot of students from our 4 school districts that surround us. And they need to feel welcomed and understood for their specific circumstances. So thank you so much.
I think we have another, yes.
Yeah, I just wanted to comment about, I think it was Eric, who was kind of an outlier in that he knew he's gonna have to delay and maybe come back. And that had me reflecting on almost 30 years ago when I took courses here. And there didn't seem to be a lot of counseling services and other things for the students. And it seemed that back then, students like Eric might never have come back. But somehow we are communicating enough with students that they know that there is a plan. They can go away for a while and they can come back. And so I think that's a positive thing too.
Anyone else have any?
Go ahead.
I just want to remind everyone that at this college, we have an instructional technology center and an online office and a teaching and learning resource center. And we are here to assist those online students and all the students. But the online students, they do kind of sometimes get left behind because they're at a distance, they're at a disadvantage there. And they don't have the connections that a physically present student would have. So if you have a student that is an online student and they don't know where to go and you don't know how to assist them, send them to me. I'll figure out a way to help them. I always have and we always will. That's what our office is for. We're here to make sure that the faculty and the staff get the support that they need to make the distance ed program work for the students. And I think that we've proven we can do that at this college and we just need to keep doing it.
Hello, everyone. I'm Lauren Jackson, advisory in counseling and student success. So I'm very happy that the students that we had beautifully shared their experiences and what resources they use to be successful here at Barstow. I feel like it would be really nice to get other perspectives of students that aren't too involved in student working or involved in special programs to make sure we get every perspective of the students that are really struggling and may not be super involved, I guess. So maybe if we can have a cross-campus survey for each student, just so that we can gather all that information so that we know how to help those populations as well.
I did want to respond to that because that's absolutely what we were trying to do today. In my methodology, I actually randomized the entire campus sample, and I feel pretty confident that this was a highly representative student panel of our campus population. But we definitely are gonna keep trying harder next time to make sure that we get very different students from different perspectives, because we value that. So thank you for mentioning that. I just wanted to let everybody know we randomized the heck out of our sample as much as we could.
They also made several phone calls to make sure that the students that did come today before classes started actually came. So I think that once the term gets started and we plan more of these panels, we'll be able to do that and address exactly the good point that you made, Lauren. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Denise Mitchell, I'm the EOPS secretary. Just to piggyback off of what Lauren said, I do think it would be awesome to have a more wide range of representation on campus and have those special populations and different cohorts represented and given a platform to voice their struggles and triumphs on campus, like foster youth, access students, those different types of cohorts. So I just think that would be more effective.
We also had those groups. That's why we also tried to get, for Irwin. So unfortunately, when you reach out to these groups,
They say no.
yeah. We had only we did groups, we did by groups, we did by units. So we did, Stephanie did a fantastic job. But we did, then we had to call all the students and we had to go with who would come as well. So after everything was randomized, then we had to go ahead and.
I think in the future, as we keep doing this, part of the feedback we heard from these students up here is how important this made them feel and how heard they felt. And so I think if we keep continuing this process, students who get that phone call are gonna be like, I won the lotto, I get to go up on stage next time. So I think it's gonna take time to get students to say yes and be excited.
I'm sure I don't need the microphone. Anyways, as a perspective as a board member, I'm going to be honest, I was totally blown away. I agree with the comments about cross sections and so forth and so on, but I just listening to the kids up there, and like Mr. Courtney had mentioned, the lady, it hurt me to find out that we have students here that they can be in a 2-year track and we may not be able to graduate them. And I can't put that on anybody except myself as a board member. So when I heard that, it hurt, because our goal, or my goal, is to get you the best. Now, that was the negative, but on the positive, I was overwhelmed. I was overwhelmed with the counselors, the services, the teachers, where if a student doesn't understand it, the counselor will actually quiz them. The instructor would quiz them, okay? The young lady at the end that is very shy, she didn't appear real shy when she got up there. The people, I heard it from behind, keeping it real. And I can tell you this, and this is why, and I'll speak for Paul, I know Phil's still here, but hopefully, Paul, I'm saying the right thing. This is why I enjoy being part of this family. Not anything else, but being a small part of this family. And I thank you all. I look forward to the new panels, but I thank you all because you're the ones. Every one of you in this audience and your partners are the ones that make this happen. So please, I know sometimes you may not feel it, but we do appreciate you. Okay, I appreciate you. I got out of surgery about a week ago. This is like my first free day without a supervised 13-year-old walking around me. That's only because school started. Thank you, Jesus. Okay, but you make Barstow Community College. The board doesn't. We are blessed to have you. These kids make Barstow Community College. Okay? What I love too with the audience, the perspective. We have people, well, can we do this kind of, I heard some sort of online training, so I text my wife, she goes, I have no idea what it is, or tutoring. I have no idea what it is. One of the students is using it. What is amazing is all of you stepping up to the plate. Nancy, when we have these programs, we can do this and we can do, and I did not hear once about me or I or anything else. And I will tell you again, I mean, it has been a struggle. You know, 20 plus years, some of you probably wished I'd have quit my first term. Okay? But I'm telling you, you make Barstow Community College happen. The things you do, all of the events, the event tomorrow, that'll for the adjuncts at 8, all next week. Thank you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart, because what you do was completely and amazingly displayed on what our kids feel. Okay? And every one of you. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Hyden. You know, I would like to take the opportunity, it's great to get the perspective of a board member. And I would like to, and I don't mean to put anybody on the spot, but, you know, many of our students coming from our local high schools. And Barbara Rose, if you don't mind, you are an employee at the college, but I also want to acknowledge that you are the board president of Barstow Unified School District. And I don't know how the panel affected you in terms of what you heard in your role of overseeing the education and those who are coming here.
Thank you for asking that. Well, I'm really impressed because, you know, I've been here at Barstow College for almost 17 years, and I love the fact that we continue to rise to the occasion. Our jobs become harder and harder because of the mandates from the federal, from the state, even from the local school boards, and then we have our classroom mandates from the teachers, and so we continue to rise to the occasion and provide what we need to for the diverse student population. I love that we had a diversity population up here with the students. What I would like to see in future, maybe at all college, is something on new students. I have a granddaughter that just enrolled, and it's frightening. I want to make sure that what we're passing on K through 12 into our community college is that we're passing them into good hands. And it's my granddaughter, I'm just speaking on her experience, they're lost. They want that person to say, I'm here for you, I got you. And so I would love to see a panel of these new students to say, what were your challenges coming in? What can we define to help them better acclimate into our college? And we will continue to partner with Barstow Community College from K through 12. I take great pride in what we all do together as partners, and that's what I would like to see, is what our new students from our K through 12 systems, what they're experiencing as they come through. Thank you for asking.
Thank you.
We actually didn't get a chance to mention, but I just did want to point out that we actually have 1 or 2 of the 12 to 20 unit students up here. We randomized our sample by new students who had 12 to 20 units, middle students who had anywhere from 21 to 40 units, and then almost done students to 40 to 60 units, and then we also had a final group of 60 plus unit students, so that was the one who had graduated. But I like your idea of holding a panel of strictly new students to see what scared the heck out of them when they got here, or what did we do amazingly when they got here.
We also did have a couple of questions that actually did go through, but we kind of went through our time, so we kind of had it cut short, but we did have like 2 questions at the end that did have that. So maybe next time we could start it off with, like, what was your experience? So we'll take note of that.
Good morning, everyone. Okay, I just wanted to both, acknowledge and, reinforce what I think everyone is saying here about the student panel, and that the student voice is always one of the most important, things we have and what we need to value and make sure we integrate into everything we do at the school. And although it was a diverse group and we will have more many, I just think it's important that we continue to tune in and check into what the students are feeling, what they need in terms of every aspect that we do, every new initiative, every program. We want to consider them because we know if they're more engaged and more involved, they're going to tend to be retained and complete. Some things you mentioned, Denise, I know just discussing with some of the students, and particularly now dealing with discipline, was something about office hours and me always asking. And I know a lot of the students that talk to myself and probably other counselors tend to bring up, it seems like I'm bothering, it's the office hour. And we talk about, oh, maybe it should be student hours, something that's just more friendly for students, because sometimes they do feel, even though it says that maybe, you know, it's not welcoming for them. And it's, you know, breaking that down, that no, these are hours that we recognize just for you. But something like that, you know, just always something to consider, but we don't want to lose the student voice. So I was especially pleased that this was a part of kind of the first day back.
Thank you. And you know, since you made me think of something, and in our debrief really struck me hearing the insights that Curie and Stephanie were seeing, and they were already jumping to solutions, right? Hearing things, watching things, jumping to solutions. And for me, I step back and think, you know, what was really cool is if you've got Stephanie that, you know, started as a researcher. Curie was in the Promise program for a long time, really is very in tune also to the student experience, but also our resources. So what you have is, you know, the movement of our employees into different roles. I could see immediately the speed at which, you know, the researcher could understand the currently available solutions or ways to tweak the solutions in ways that really drives towards improvements in our college. So I just think that's kind of a cool thing that we're doing too. And thank you, you really did a wonderful job. The students got so you've got your work cut out for you. Clearly everybody wants more student panels.
It's gonna happen.
Yeah. Good. So I think we're, what part are we? Which one is it? Okay, fine. So the folks are good that we move to the next part of our program then? I think we had a break. So now we are to the portion of our program where we get to hear from the leaders of our groups at the college. So I would like to first welcome up our Senate President, Nance Nunes-Gill.
Good morning, Dr. Bag, Board of Trustees, guests that are still here maybe from our community. Welcome back, faculty. Hopefully, you're all rested and ready to begin our new academic year. Working in the early childhood field, I run across many articles and quotes that I believe we can relate from children to adults. So I'm going to start off with a quote from Mr. Rogers. I hope you're proud of yourself for the times that you've said yes, when all it meant was the extra work for you and was seemingly helpful only to somebody else. That somebody else, in our case, is our amazing students. They are the ones that you've been working so hard for, that you've gone the extra mile. They're the ones that you build your relationships with. And that's how it makes it happen and the success that we've heard from our panel today. As I alluded to at the end of the last year, we're not done yet. We have many things that we will be working on this year, from certificates and degrees, new programs such as STEM, kinesiology, communications, to name a few. We will continue to work on guided pathways, working with our leads, our students, and classified staff support in the student services area as we develop our program guided pathways. The one constant thing that occurs every summer are the changes that take place at our college. For some of us, we have new deans and directors that we will be working with, and for others, we're beginning our year with uncertainty. It is a time to look at different perspectives of self-knowledge and self-realization. As we look around at our changing college, we need to listen deeply within, which in turn means that transparency is of essence. Without transparency, what is being shared isn't meaningful. Again, change can be challenging,
I know that, and I personally have difficulty with change. And I clearly remember when Mr. Eaton told me that I was going to create my class on Canvas. And I also remember, and I'm sure Mr. Dean Botangan does, the many emails and phone calls on how overwhelmed I was with the technology in the Canvas shell. However, a few years later, I'm getting the hang of it, along with the help of Nancy, Adrienne, and Aniko. So regardless of the changes that are taking place, I know that faculty will continue to do what's right and in the best interest of our students and in support of 10+1. I'm looking forward to working with all of you this coming year. Thank you.
So Dr. Beverly Ranney, BCFA President.
Good morning. Welcome back, faculty. Hello to the rest of you. I hope you had a fabulous summer. I know I did. I was on the beach in Oregon. Let's go back. Road trip time, right? But we start off the year with BCFA. I would like to acknowledge the officers that will be helping me through the year. We've got Eduardo Vasquez as our Vice President. Susan Rylander as Secretary. Sage as Treasurer. And Melissa Madison will be our Social Media Director. As always, the Faculty Association stands in support of Academic Senate and moving forward with curriculum work. To that end, we are in full support of the first Faculty Friday on August 23rd to move curriculum forward with a tight turnaround time. The tsunami is not over, I've been told, guys. So we've got the life jackets. We will be donning them again, okay? And we will talk more about this later today. And as we move forward this year, we will work for what is best for our students and our community, okay? And I look forward to working with all of you collegially this year. Thank you.
And also would like to bring up Michelle Bond, President of CSEA.
Good morning, and welcome back to our faculty. We're so glad you're back. Having a piece of our family gone for the summer. I want to welcome the classified staff from yesterday. All the faculty's been away this summer doing all the many things that you do. Classified's been here working with our students, preparing classrooms, continuing the work on the many initiatives that were up on the board earlier. But we're glad to have you back so we can work together. Just real quick, I want to recognize the executive board of Classified School Employees Association, Jessica Tanatongo, our vice president, our secretary, Leah is our secretary, and Heather Robbins is our communications officer. And Nancy has been our chief job steward, but she's left us and gone up to management, so congratulations to her. This team is awesome. They make what I do a little bit easier, actually a lot easier, because it's not an easy job. But I'm just glad to have everybody back. Welcome, looking forward to a new year. I think we're going to continue to do some great things.
Thank you, Michelle. So now, this is always one of my favorite times of the start of the new year. It's the awarding of the prestigious Dawn White Award, and we have with us this morning Mrs. Karen White. So thank you.
Good morning. How are you all? Great, I'm so glad to be here. I always am. I'm going to present 2 awards this year for last year and this year. And I really hope that we figured out all the problems. Before I start, I have a few questions. It's a test.
Open or close?
Oh, open book. How many of you get a physical paper every day? Hands. Okay. How many of you use or own a dictionary? Oh, yay, okay. Is that on a computer?
Yeah.
Okay. How many have a typewriter? Do they work? Cool. And how many have a grade book? Uh-oh.
Online.
Computers again. Okay. I think you'll figure out where I'm going as I go on with this. Did you know that this year is the 75th anniversary of the GI Bill? Yep. So the year's 1975. Vietnam's about over. Dawn is back on campus, happily teaching. We got married and bought a house, all in 1 year. I can't read my own writing. With the advent, with Vietnam being over and the GI Bill being so huge, everybody was coming back and everybody was going to school because they realized at the end of the day that education was going to make it all for them. So the afternoon and late and evening classes just filled up. This campus was just humming. At one point, Dawn had 5 sections of orientation in 1 term. Without computers, with none of that. Can you imagine how long it took just to fill in those grade books? Think about that. Just massive amounts of people being processed through the campus. Probably some of this is before some of you were born. At that time, there were no computers, there were no cell phones, there were no beepers, there were no iPads. There was none of that. I mean, the biggest thing we had was Pac-Man.
Still have that.
Oh, okay. Don had some things he was really very firm about. He preached about being complacent and the fact that slimy green things would hit you across the head if you weren't watching. He did not believe in talking down to students. It's unnecessary. Don't use those $50 words when you know they don't understand it. You gotta work somewhere in the middle. He had a real big problem with liars, thieves, and hypocrites. He said what he meant, and he meant what he said. The students just loved him. And many, many years later, they still went around doing Dawn-isms. They could quote him verbatim. Lately, I've been sort of depressed a little bit. I was speaking with a 19 to 20-year-old kid. I made comments like, Nancy Pelosi's 79. Who's that? You don't know who that is? No, she's the Speaker of the House. Oh. Are you registered to vote? No. Are you going to vote? No. Why? It's not interesting. Can you endorse a check? Remember the age, 19? No. I'm teaching myself because we weren't taught that in school. So I immediately thought, oh dear God, what would Tom do? And I understand that they're being taught to take a test, but at the same time, education is being lost. It's just gone. For most of a generation, for the millennials. That's sad. Because then that puts you guys in a position of, you really have to work really hard, not only to get them here, but to educate them and to keep them here, because they have no reason to do anything. They don't have to work because they don't want to. So you have to work doubly hard in order to make sure that they get the education they don't know they need, if that makes any sense at all. So I was getting so depressed, I decided I was going to my happy place. So last night I went to Victorville to the movies, and they do, every year at this time, they do a big, loud, and live event. And it's all drum and bugle corps competition live from St. Louis. The 15 top drum and bugle corps in the country perform live. And you sit there for 6 hours, and it takes 3 weeks for your drums to get back to where they're supposed to be. In the process of watching all these wonderful children, they're 16 to 21 years old. That's the ages. They go in at 16, they age out at 21. Playing the most beautiful music you've ever heard in your life. And that's when it occurred to me. These are in college, in high school band, in college band. Because they only do this 85 days of the summer, that's it. They are the future teachers of music. They're the arrangers, the choreographers, the studio musicians. They're the future of the music industry, the art industry in this country, because they are really dedicated to what they do. They don't get paid for it. They have to pay to be there. And that's when I understood that there was more to what's going on in our country than people really want to take the time to look at. And it did make me feel better to know that I came home and I was just happy. 6 hours sitting there watching drum and bugle corps. By the way, the top 2 corps in the country are from California. Santa Clara Vanguard and Concord Blue Devils. They're 2 and 3 in the country as of last night. So it's, I guess, incumbent upon you guys to sort of carry part of the burden. You're the middle part. You know, the high school, junior college, and then the college when they transfer out. And it really is. That's why Don was so good at what he did. He knew that. You could get a hold of them, he could keep them, and they learned. And that's the whole idea. As Mr. Hayden said, if you don't have the students, you don't have the college. And that's a true statement. It is. It's really cool. Okay, this year's awards. I'm gonna let you go with that because I'm done preaching. I'm really happy to know that this award is voted on by peers. You all appreciate what your fellow teachers are doing. You recognize it, and I think that's wonderful. Last year's award is for Dr. Beverly Rainey. For Nance Nunskill.
Wonderful. Congratulations, Dr. Rani, Professor Nunskill. Thank you. Thank you, Mrs. White. It's really an honor and a pleasure to have you here again. So now we are to the portion of our program where we're going to do our Employee Service Awards. So I believe, Mr. Glenn Barr, if you're up there, we have a PowerPoint to help let people know. We're going to call you up. We've got service pins and a certificate for you. I'm sorry, you reminded me of that. So we need to call up, I think, Michelle Bond again. There she is. I apologize, Michelle.
All right, so I'm up here to announce the CSEA Employee of the Year. Every year across the state, schools recognize an entire week for their classified staff. That week is full of training and awards and eating, of course. This year was exceptional because the district allowed us a little bit more actually a lot more release time than we've had in the past. So we got to do a lot of professional development and team building. It was excellent. So part of that is choosing our Employee of the Year. This employee is nominated by their peers and voted on. And this year's winner was actually one of my nominations. She's only been here close to 4 years, but in that time, her work with CSEA and with the district has been phenomenal. She's an excellent employee, but she's also an excellent union member. In that time, this individual has been a valued member of our e-board, the negotiations team, serves on several shared governance committees, has helped plan our holiday party, which is kind of like, one of the other festivities of the year. And then CSEA week, which is, planning that entire week, which is a lot of work. And she's also the classified chair of Caring Campus. It's been an honor to work with her as my vice president. She is just a phenomenal person of support from me, and that's why I nominated her. And she just goes above and beyond for all of her brothers and sisters in the union. So please join me in congratulating Jessica Tanatana. Current vice president and future president. Shameless plug.
Actually in my office, in my shelf, where I display it proudly. So I look forward to working with all you guys again. Thanks.
Congratulations, Jessica. Wonderful, very exciting. Okay, now I can see we've got our service awards presentation ready to go. And I think we have some folks here who can help with service pins and certificates. So bear with us for a second here. We're all well organized. As we're getting ourselves situated here, I would just like to acknowledge the work of our human resources staff, Rosalinda. Put this together. So we're going to obviously love this time of the year as well to recognize the years they sure fly by. We've got a number of individuals crossing important milestones of service to the college. So for 5 years of service, those of you see your name up there, we'll call you one at a time. You can make your way up from whichever side you'd like to. We'd like to acknowledge you and thank you for your service. And if you would please, when you come up here, please stay for just so that we can take a photograph of you as a cohort group before we call up the next increment of service time. So, Professor Aboud. I also want to recognize Heather Robbins, who couldn't be here today, but 5 years of dedicated service as well. Okay. 10 years of service. So you see names up there? Make your way up. Happy, what were you up to? I missed that.
Oh, you're good. Just need to get a picture of the screen. Years of service.
And now, I think we have a special PowerPoint for some very, just bring it in. Thank you, Glenn. Let's give a round of applause to It's coming. Deep breath. There's some employees that we want to recognize, special recognition this year. I mean, it's really phenomenal.
Where are we looking?
Got my student right down there. Am I? Where's Karen White at? Anyway, I knew Don White. He was more than just a name on a plaque. He was no nonsense. He was the president of the union. And when teachers would come in the meeting, he would tell them, if you don't believe in yourselves, don't come in here. And someone would go, is he gonna bully us? And they go, don't go in there. Because the man is direct and he's straight. He treats you like an adult. Okay? And we never had food in any of these meetings. So we're here to take care of business. And he did. And straight up. I'll leave this about Don White, because we're talking about how things change. And he said, you know, John, we ain't got time. We're here for a little while, and then people don't remember who we are. But I remember him. And Lisa remembers him. And I remember this. I was a plebe, and you need to remember this. There was this guy, he looked like a football coach, you know, white shirt, tie. He was walking across his campus. And all of a sudden he came back. I'm looking at him, something doesn't look right. So I asked my friend Rick Schultz, I said, what's he wearing? I said, go ask him. It was an African garb. He was wearing a dashiki. And every Friday he would wear it. And we all wanted to ask him, but we just didn't have the nerve to ask him, what's that about? Because Don, he was a man of the people, all of the people. And we all knew it. Now, when he spoke, you listened. So maybe we can learn from that, because he said, we ain't got time, Tim. When we make our tortillas out of corn, not out of patience.
I'm not going to talk that long. I just wanted to say it's really an honor to be a part of this beautiful, colorful family. I had the opportunity to, when we were having breakfast, to meet 2 new staff people. And before I close, I want to make a challenge to everyone in this room. I had the opportunity to meet our new athletic director, Minor, he's sitting up there. I had the opportunity to meet Melissa. I get name drunk with Melissa. Melissa, she's one of our new instructors up there. Let's give her a round of applause. We are Barstow Community College. We need to embrace, connect, not just to our fellow workers within our offices. We need to connect with the managers, the instructors, and the administration here at Barstow Community College. As well as our instructors. When Barbara Rose said her granddaughter's coming here, she's new. That's our population. Those people are our new family members. And we as employees at Barstow Community College, we need to embrace everyone to make them feel comfortable so they will want to stay here. So only thing I'm just telling you, all the individuals who sit with only your own department, you need to stop and go to another area, meet someone else who you know nothing about. I had the opportunity to find out about those two individuals by sitting at the table with them, finding out that they're people of other cultures. I'm embracing it, and I'm finding out that, you know what, we serve the same population. So Minor and Melissa, M&M, I do all these corny things. I want to tell you, welcome to the new adjunct counselors, Joe, Edward, and Nanette. And Danette, I know you Danette, I'm sorry. Nanette, which I've been calling the wrong name all this time, so I need to continue. So I just want to tell you guys, thank you. I thank you on behalf of Rosie, who I call Turtle. We came the same day, and I hope we leave and retire the same day here in the very near future. Thank you.
So now we would like to introduce new employees. Some of those got to be introduced by Ms. Lisa, that was fun. And I just want to say, you know, we've had a lot of hiring, there's been a lot of shifting of people in different roles. And I know that, you know, there's going to be some people that we might not have gotten to with all of the changes, and some individuals are still awaiting board approval. So we'll get you, if we miss you this time, we'll definitely get you at another time, but hopefully we've gotten most of the people in new positions. So, and I can't really read without my glasses. Sorry. Richard Alvarez, counselor, and if you don't mind standing up, you've got photos here, but it's far better to see you. Where's Melissa Madison? Yes, and Emily Harrison. There she is. Jennifer Leolofi in the library. And Heather Brown. Victoria Brand. Oh, she's on vacation. Well deserved, I'm sure. There's lots of preparation going on. Stephanie Ingalls, you got to see. Lisa Ellis, and Riley Murray, administrative assistant. I thought I saw them earlier. CTE. Okay, so okay. Whoops, I'm sorry. Danielle Jeffers. Nora. Very nice. Maria Jojo. Business office. Oh, hardworking. They are processing payroll right now. And Lorenzo Martinez, custodian. He starts the afternoon shift. Karen Kane, executive vice president. And Amanda Simpson. Andrew Church, Lauren Jackson. Success advisor. And Chad Shipley. Garcia. Marissa Mitchell, Secretary of UPS. Melissa Church. Fabio Milan, brand new database analyst. Way in the back. Welcome. And our new Vice President of Administrative Services, Dave Lawson. Elena Rivera, well known in town. Director of our consortium of adult ed. Professor Dr. Christopher Nalbandian. Peter Esperanza, math instructor. Well, that was quick, huh? And I know that our new athletic director, if approved by the board at the next board meeting, is back here. It's Minor Mendoza, correct? Welcome. Thank you for your assistance with acknowledging our employees, new and old, lifetime service. So at this time, we've got some updates that apply across the college. So we have some individuals who have some topics, and these are just brief updates. We know that there's lots of information that we like to share at all college meetings, and there's lots more behind each of these updates, but there's just some important things that are new to the college that we thought would be useful to you. So those of you giving updates, you want to come up and share some information with everybody. I'm going to introduce our CSEA employee, recipient employee of the year, Jessica Tana-Tango, and I want to personally just acknowledge my gratefulness to Jessica for leading the Caring Campus initiative at this college. It's been, I think, just a great success that I have heard from the coach, Jordan Horowitz, who came and did the coaching sessions, and a lot of the success of that program has to do with the leadership of Jessica. So I just want to thank you, Jessica.
So I know that there's some new people here, but is everyone pretty familiar with Caring Campus? Right, so it's an initiative brought out by the IEBC, which is the Institute for Evidence-Based Change, is to get classified employees more involved with students who wouldn't normally be. I came originally from the research office in my cube in the back of the LRC, and I could go days without talking to anybody or seeing anybody. I'm only more involved now because I kind of forced myself out of that hole. Not so much the position as it was just making myself find more students. I love Lisa. So anyway, So we met for 6 months. There was a team of us. It was faculty, management, and a lot of classified members. We had a coach here on campus with us, and we had to find 4 behavioral commitments that we could commit to and put into place by the end of the summer. And we got some of them done, and we're going to push to get the rest of them done this year. And we're hoping to put together a Caring Campus work group so we can continue the work throughout hopefully the next several years. So our first goal was to get name tags for everybody on campus. So we're going to get these later today. Everybody will get one. And I know some of you might be uncomfortable having your name, but this was to differentiate faculty and staff from students. Because there's a lot of times when we're on campus and I see somebody who's lost and it's like, oh, hey, can I help you? And they're like, well, I teach here, I know where I'm going. Because they look like a student. And this is hopefully will also help the students feel more comfortable in approaching us because they can say, oh, hi, Jessica, can you help me? And then I can hopefully get them to where they need to go. Another behavioral commitment that we came up with was updated maps on campus, as I've run into several students at the maps that are currently posted going, where's computer commons? I don't know where I'm going. And I did just find out that these have been ordered, so they'll be in place soon. And then to follow that will be maps that we can carry on the person, hopefully like M&O. So they can also get involved more by when students ask for where they need to be, they can show them on the map and maybe take them there, but we'll get to that. So those are the 2 that have come forward. The other 2 are greeting customers, which we're going to work on in customer service and hopefully get some professional development in that. And I think that's it. We are hoping, like I said, to establish a work group so that we can continue this because there was a lot of really good ideas. Coming off of what the students were saying and what Ms. Lisa was saying is that when the students are new, we need to be able to help them. And as somebody who's still in my new position, I don't work with students. I want to be involved and to be able to help them. My current office is in the student services building and I see how swamped they are and what an amazing job they do, but there are just not enough of them. And that's just the way that it is. Somebody like me who can maybe be trained just a little bit to say, okay, now you need to go to counseling. Let me walk you there. Make sure you get to the right person. Let me walk you down to the bookstore to make sure that you can get your books. This is what Caring Campus is about, and I hope that we can continue to work together. Thank you.
Good morning, my name is Lyle Eicheltinger. How I got that name, I'm not sure. But I'm 73 years old and I've lived with it so long, I'm not going to change it. Thank you. If you'll permit me a point of personal privilege, I want to acknowledge that we've increased the HR staff by 100%. The 2 who have been with me the longest, or I've been with them, I guess is the better way to put it, Rosalind and Paulette. Those 2 outstanding assets for the college. Rosalind is the chief recruiter for the college. So all these folks that you see that have been hired, the excellent candidates that we've brought forward are her responsibility. She's the one that's out there in the community. She works with you and others to bring those candidates here. She typically has 10 or 15 positions she's recruiting. That's a full-time job in and of itself. She's also the benefits administrator. She does a number of other things. She does an outstanding job, and I want to recognize her. Now, Paulette's a little bit on the shy side. But she's a graduate of the Big B. She's a math student. She's another terrific asset. She's very good at mathematics, as you would imagine. We have a student, Alejandro, who's sitting back there. Stand up, Alejandro. He's been with us for 2 years. He graduated last summer. No, I guess it was the spring. And so anyway, he's taken a couple of other classes. He has calculus, so I matched him with Paulette. I mean, I would answer those questions myself, of course, but. So there are 3 very excellent employees Alejandro, he's, whatever university he's going to, we're recommending Stanford or Berkeley. He's going to be a great proponent for the Big B. So anyway, the professors that have worked with him have done an outstanding job. So we're just delighted to have him with us. Now, we've added 2 additional employees. One of them is up here. Kimberly Young, 20 years of experience. Congratulations. This is Barbara Rose, 17 years of experience. Now, you have to understand, from my perspective, I had 2 years of experience. So it's a real disadvantage for a person like me who shows up in a new organization. I can look through their eyes. Now, we have over 50 years of experience in HR. So I look through their eyes, I can get a sense of what the college is, where they've been, what works, who you are. I sit in this little cubicle area behind a stack of papers. I mean, I get out a little bit, but imagine what a benefit that is to me to have such experience on our staff. So to Dr. Bagg, who supported adding this staff, it's absolutely terrific. We're really very much appreciative. So thank you all. I wanted to talk about medical plans. We have open enrollment starting August the 16th. It'll run through September the 16th. This year, we're going to provide you with some information personalized for you so that you know which plan you're enrolled in. I mean, we have something like 22 medical plans. So it's would not be hard to lose track of which plan you have. So you'll get some personalized information so that when you're going through open enrollment, you'll know where you are, and you'll know then, of course, how to compare that with the new plans, the other plans that are offered. We're also going to have a representative from CBT on campus to help answer your questions. I think that will be very, very helpful. The rate increases this year for medical plans generally under 3%, which is good, much less than we thought. I mean, we were anticipating 6%. Now, 3% is nothing to sneeze at. We understand that. But it's much better than we thought it was going to be. And we've asked the CBT to give us a summary of changes to the medical providers. I mentioned 22 medical plans. We actually offer 22 medical plans. So those providers often make changes to the plans. So you may be enrolled in the plan, and they may have made some changes to it. So we want to make sure that you understand what those changes are, and so you can make the best possible selections from the plans that we're offering. Medical plan fit and the value and quality of the medical plans often rank among the most important and influential employment satisfaction criteria for employees. These findings from Mercer and other research firms in both private and public sectors, including community colleges, are consistent over the last 4 decades and likely apply for us here as well. Maintaining current and viable employee benefits offerings, especially medical plan, is an important commitment to employees and their covered dependents. In partnership with the BCFA, CSEA, and the district's management, the district has formed a subcommittee of the Health and Welfare Committee to review current medical plan offerings presently offered to employees through CBT. The CBT is a third-party administrator, by the way. They don't actually offer medical coverage themselves, and they're self-funded. Medical plan review through this subcommittee is tasked to do the following: educate the team members about the current and future state of medical plan designs. Lots of changes in the medical field over the last 10 or 15 years, and many new changes are coming. So we're going to educate ourselves how these plans work, what new offerings there are, and that will be important. And then we're going to take a look at the insured pool, and that's you. And it's me, it's these folks. We're the insured pool. We're gonna look at how that's costed, what changes we can affect with regard to the costing of those pools. Actuaries do that work. It's not magic. But we can impact that by improving our health and fitness. It's part of the reason, the president mentioned this earlier, the Be Well program. It isn't a sort of glorified health fair. It's really there to help us improve our health and fitness, and we can drive our costs down while at the same time enjoying better health and fitness. So we're going to work together with you and through that Be Well program. It will drive our overall costs down. But we're going to look at local area providers. A number of new providers that provide medical coverage. We want to make sure we know who they are and what they provide and what their costs are. It's a very important outcome. Obviously, survey you, staff. It's your sense of what your fit is, exactly what kinds of plans you're looking for. Those change over the years. This is one of the reasons we're doing this review. It's always good, at least every couple of years, to check in and see what you're interested in, what kinds of plans you need, what kind of coverages you need, what's changing in your life, so that we're adaptive and responsive. Also, the history of the medical plans that are here. That helps us moving forward. We want to move backward and figure out why we have 22 medical. What precipitated those kinds of choices? We need to basically figure out how that works, and then that will inform the questions we ask in the future. It'll help us design improved plans for the future. The primary effort is to improve that which we have now, to seek the best providers of medical value and quality, and to provide choices that fit individual needs. We have engaged American Fidelity to help us collect information and to gain us insights into the rapidly changing medical plan field. They're not running this for us. They're here to help us. They're partnering with us. And so far, they've been excellent partners. Again, our intent is to improve what we offer. You'll hear more about this from the subcommittee in the coming weeks. So thank you for your time. I appreciate your listening and look forward to working with you on this very important topic.
Good morning. This summer, Dr. Begg and the cabinet supported a really important training that we did on campus regarding campus security. And I'm going to kind of briefly go over what we looked at and some of our plans for the future. We brought out a consultant from Nicole Miller and Associates named Martin Hanneman, and him and his colleagues led us through some important ideas and concepts around campus security. Among those were the idea that it's our responsibility, it's a joint responsibility that we have for each other in keeping each other safe. And that the concept of, we hear it a lot, see something, say something, that you want to step up if something doesn't seem right, that you get that general sense that maybe something isn't right, that we do step up and say something to somebody, even if you can't figure out why. We talked a lot about situational awareness, about building daily habits, about paying attention to your subconscious, again, knowing your environment and when something's off. We talked about managing fear and understanding our natural responses to fear and how that affects ourselves and others in an emergency situation. We looked at the warning signs and identifying those warning signs, what to watch for, and learning about reporting procedures. And we talked about reacting to violence, sounding alarms, barricade techniques, and of course, many are familiar with run, hide, and fight. All of these are important campus topics, and the management and the classified did that training this summer. In the fall, we will be doing a training for the faculty, and we will also be encouraging anyone that was gone or wasn't able to participate to be able to participate in that training this fall. The importance of safety and security and encouraging that continued dialogue, and not just a dialogue when we do security training, but dialogue in your department, and how we react in our departments is really important. So please continue to have those conversations, and we'll be getting information out about the next training shortly.
So I'm here to deliver the news today that we will be re-entering a student loan program. AB 19, which is the new California College Promise Grant, requires participation in the student loan program. It gives us some funding for us to support the students that are part of the promise to pay their enrollment fees if they don't qualify for the bond waiver. And the state has tied certain things to that so that you can continue to get capital outlay funds. You have to be a participant of AB 19. So the decision was made that we would rejoin because we will need capital outlay funds. This means that during the fall, you'll see a lot of new administrative procedures, changes to the website coming through so that we can prepare for that. We won't have any of the training for the staff until late December, early January, and our system won't be set up until the spring. So when you hear students asking about it, make sure that you let them know that it won't be until the spring that we'll actually be participating. And Wendy asked me to say, please be very patient with us, because this is a pretty big undertaking. There's a lot of regulations tied to it. And quite honestly, we don't have anybody in our office who's done it before, because the only thing we know about student loans currently is from having attended as a student and taking them out. There will, of course, be opportunities. You did hear some of the students talking about how many hours they have to work in order to support themselves. So we hope that by doing this, that will help reduce some of that so that some more students can attend full-time. It's one of the big pushes across the state is to try to help students get into full-time attendance. And so that's another big push for joining. I have a little trepidation because you also saw Dr. Back's slides about the massive student loan debt burden that students have right now. And I think every time I open up my news feed, that's what it's talking about, right? Another article about the massive student loan. So we definitely want to make sure that we're helping our students, but at the same time, making them aware of the other opportunities that they have so that they're not taking out student loan debt unnecessarily. So be very encouraging to my poor, very small financial aid staff right now because they have to learn a whole lot of new stuff and do a whole lot of new paperwork and a lot of training at the same time that they're doing all of their own work. Okay? And don't ask any questions yet. Wait at least until December. Okay?
Hi, I'm Dave Plesson. Been here 4 days, so the learning curve is starting to kick in. One of the things I wanted to share with what she was talking about, the capital outlay funds, there's some more good news with the way they've changed it. Small colleges have typically been disadvantaged because we don't have the opportunity to get bonds pretty much in small communities. They're going to give bonus points to us for being a small college and being disadvantaged, so that'll help us get in line for future funds. One of the things I hope to do in my role is provide people information and training so they're not as in the dark about campus finances. And an example of that is I attended the last board meeting and there was a question about the water loop project. The water loop project, we are number 2 in the list of the priority with the state. What does that mean? That means the state has looked at our project, they've approved it, they say we're in line, okay? The next step to that is it goes to the Department of Finances, which is where it is now. In the Department of Finance, they're reviewing the whole project. Since it's a safety project, it will get passed through the Department of Finance. I don't have any problem with that. The next step, it goes to the governor's office. When we'll hear about it next is in the January budget proposal for next year. It'll be in that proposal with the governor. And if he moves it forward, Then we'll be looking at the May revise when he revises his budget after all the political issues. And at that point in time, it'll go into the final budget. If it's approved in the final budget, then we'll be a go for funding next year, starting in July. And so at that point, I've been talking to Rick, we're gonna do some planning ahead of time because we're 99% sure that we'll be funded for it. So we're gonna do planning ahead of time that we can pull the trigger and start doing construction sometime, during late summer. And so, for the people who needed that information, board members, that's where we're looking at is late next summer, but early fall. We will be looking at maintenance and operations remodel. I know that hasn't gone to the board yet, but we'll be looking at doing some of that stuff in the meantime, since the Waterloo project will be on hold for right now. So I hope to provide education. I've been intimately involved with the state student-centered funding model. I've got 10 years of experience as a CBO, so I understand how the state works. I have a lot of connections throughout the state and are constantly talking to them and protecting Barstow's funding for the future. So I'm excited to be here after 4 days and all the people that I've met, outstanding people, outstanding vision, and listening to the students today. We're here to do this for the students, and my job as being involved in resources is providing funding for all of you to do the work that you need to do. So excited to be here, and thank you.
Good morning, my friends. Welcome back to the faculty. You've been missed. For those of you that were here this summer, thank you. For those that emailed or came by, it was much appreciated. But it is nice, as Michelle said, to have the family back together. So welcome back, everybody, and I'm looking forward to working with all of you in the heroic ways that we work together for the good of our students. Before I talk about what I'm supposed to talk about with Tanisha, there's a couple things I want to backtrack on. First, Dr. Bagg always acknowledges our trustees in the nicest of ways, but I too want to say thank you to our trustees. This is my 40th year, minus 6 months of retirement. This is my 40th year in education, and I've worked with many boards, and we have one of the finest and some of the most caring individuals who know our community inside and out, and not just our external community, but our internal community. So we are quite blessed to have a board that cares the way our board does. So can we give them another? And then I want to backtrack slightly to the Don White Award, because many of you are new, and when I say new, like a couple of years new, and we didn't award the Don White Award last year. And so some of you were probably wondering, now who is this guy, even after you heard from Mrs. White? So not only was he a longtime employee, but he was also a former president of this college from 68 to 73. And for those of you that have lived through those decades, those were turbulent decades, and especially also in community colleges, they were rough. Think civil rights in the 60s and then moving into the 70s. So when I hear the stories about Don White, and I have heard them, we need to know when our fine employees are receiving this award, this really means something. So I also wanted to say, are there any other faculty in the room who are former Don White Award recipients? Could you guys stand? Okay. Very good. So I think it's really important as we enter our 60th year that we continually remember and honor those that have come before us, those who have made Barstow and Barstow Community College what it is today, and that we remember and integrate all of the lessons that we have learned from the people who have gone before us. Times are changing, and they're changing rapidly, and that is hard. That is hard. And some of the work that we do is hard to understand when maybe 4 years ago it wasn't even work that we knew about. So again, my hat's off to you as a family of folks who care more than any other group I've ever worked with, and I can say that honestly. I have watched you work tirelessly. I have watched you bend over backwards to go not only the extra mile, but 10 extra miles for our students and for each other. And this is not easy to do, but you do it, and you do it because you care. So keeping that in mind as we go forward, because faculty, I've been writing to you a couple times throughout the summer. I hope you've read what I wrote, so you're not surprised by things that are happening. But I mentioned that our work, we have far to go. And I guess I should say every year we will have far to go, because we will never be a stagnant organization, nor will the community college. And remember, we're one of 115 in the system. We belong to the largest system of higher education in the nation. That's something, and we need to remember that, because we honor what we do for our college, but what we do within the system, it matters. So change is coming, change is hard, good and bad change is very hard, and we must support one another through that. So if anybody's feeling a little unsteady because of change, I'm here to talk to you. And we did do a realignment of the student services and academic affairs area to give you more support, more integrated support and more support. So I'm going to ask those of you that were realigned, you're not new employees, but you were realigned to stand. So we have, and then I'm going to have you say just really loud, Tim, your new title. Okay, so these are long titles and I would trip over them, but they know their own titles.
Trip over them too, but it's the Dean of Instruction, Academic Support, and Online Learning.
Yes. I love Dean Fortin, and this guy has taken on a mountain in the last just only like 2 weeks, think about it. So he's moved offices, he's now up in the academic affairs area, and he is full steam ahead. Then you already heard from Heather. Yes. And you'll hear later today that our efficiency, our FTEs are up over last year, and it's because of the work. The curriculum work hasn't kicked in yet. That is going to make a difference. But right now, the difference is the schedule, and it's the way that they have worked and worked and worked for the good of the students, very student-centered schedule that's making the difference in our efficiency. So, and then where am I? Well, actually on stage with me, come on over, Tanisha Young.
Interim Dean of Counseling and Student Success.
And then also we have some new directors, and they're not new to the college, but they took on new roles. And so I'm first going to point at Nancy.
Hi, everybody. I'm the interim director of instructional technology and online learning.
And then one of our associate faculty stepped into a new interim dean role.
Hi, everyone. Some of you know me. My name is Brian Asdell. I was English faculty here for 2 years part-time, and I just moved into the interim director of learning support services position.
And then somebody who's been at the college for quite a while took on also a new role and title, Melissa.
Melissa Meadows, interim director of Guided Pathways, Equity, and Achievement.
I don't think I missed any of the new positions, did I? We're good, right? I also, though, would like to acknowledge Lisa Holmes, who this summer stepped up in a big way to help out in our CTE, or our career education area. As Dr. Begg was mentioning earlier about when employees move, sometimes the integration of work, because they bring new experiences and new depth of knowledge, helps. So Lisa is our Director of Institutional Effectiveness, but she has a background in CTE, so she stepped up and worked with our faculty and our amazing staff and really helped us out. So I want to acknowledge that, Lisa. Thank you very much. And then I have to acknowledge somebody who will be going before the board, but has been here before as subbing and helping out, Jasmine Ilaga. Will you stand, Jasmine? Jasmine has been helping out in the academic affairs area and went through a hiring process that she will go before the board this month. But I want to say thank you to Jasmine, because Jasmine and Gloria, who had to go home sick, they both stepped into really making sure today was a success. There's a lot that goes on, not just showing up. So I really want to thank you for the centerpieces, for the programming, for all the work that you did to make sure that everybody today could enjoy today. So thank you so much. And I would be remiss if I didn't say something about Michelle Henderson and our other confidential employees who also played a big part in making sure today happened. And also there is an event tomorrow, as Dr. Begg mentioned, for our associate faculty. So I may see some of you again tomorrow, but thank you to everybody who went above and beyond to make sure these events were good for all who are attending. Okay, so now, back to what I'm supposed to talk about. Mental health and student discipline. And with the realignment, discipline will now fall under the area of counseling. So I'm gonna have Tanisha talk a little bit about that, but we all acknowledge that we need a lot more communication and work in this area. And so this afternoon, I'm gonna be talking with the classified folks a little bit about that, but we all know that campus-wide, college-wide, we do need to talk about this more, so everybody feels very confident and safe to be able to work with our students in all situations. So Tanisha.
So again, yes, as Karen described, discipline will be falling under my area in this position. And I'm really excited about the mental health services that we have. We received a grant and we are in the process of hiring the counselor for that, and have hired other staff for that. And it will be kind of the triage kind of first point for discipline. Currently, that is Gloria Basinger, so we're still doing that. And I will be working with her, but while we are in transition, Karen will be assisting me as well with that. So for any points with discipline, you still want to contact Gloria first, and then she will triage out to myself. And this is, I'm exciting the mental health area. We'll definitely support it because we're finding that a lot of the discipline we see, there's some mental health component that needs to be addressed, and we want to serve our students and support them so they can be successful and get back on the right track. So any questions about that, please contact us.
I was just wondering, do we email you or do we go through Starbucks?
Oh, it's a good question. Again, well, I guess it's the scenario, right, and how immediate it is. We still want to either call us, calling Gloria direct, right behind in the office with her. If it's something in the classroom too, we definitely do want to raise a flag if you can. It depends the nature of the discipline and how immediate, but that would still be the initial contact, phone, email. And if you can raise the flag, that is helpful as well. Okay, thank you.
I want to give a shout out to M&O who last spring developed the special space that we need for mental health, because there are special requirements for that. So just so you know where it is, it's in between the Vice President of Student Services office that Tanisha is occupying at this moment and the counseling and student success area. You'll see we took a portion of that area, and as she mentioned, we're not there yet because we're still in the hiring process for the mental health counselor, but that is where our mental health area will be, or our well-being area, whatever the final name becomes. So, okay, Christy, great question by you, and we will be talking more about those kinds of things, because Some of the discipline issues are like plagiarism or the student comes late all the time. It's a starfish, raise the flag issue. What we're talking more about right now is the threat of violence, or as I've been working like the shout out to the Cosmo faculty who all came in Tuesday for several hours to talk about discipline. Because of the way they teach their courses, sometimes discipline issues are more prevalent. So they're really concerned about that, because if you don't have discipline, you cannot teach. If you don't know what your rights and responsibilities are in your classrooms, it's also hard to teach. So these are the kinds of things that we'll be addressing. But those kinds of issues, no one gets to swear at you, no one gets to disrupt the learning environment, no one gets to take away from the other student. So those are the methods where you will call Gloria, and then we triage from there and figure out what to do. And our goal is always to reintegrate the student back into your class if it's possible. Okay. All right, so we'll be talking a lot more about that this year. And if you have questions, please save them and send them forward, because we want us all to feel very, very good about the jobs that we do with students, whether you're in the classroom or outside of the classroom. Our classified staff many times are the first line of seeing students that may need some help. So we're going to talk about that this afternoon.
Well, I think this is probably good news. We've wrapped up the program a little bit ahead of time. You've all been very patient, and I appreciate that. I appreciate your engagement. I want to thank our trustees for staying quite some time beyond what typically happens. I really appreciate the support with the student panel and all of you. I also want to acknowledge Amanda for taking photos of everybody. I just noticed her. She's like everywhere. And again, I also want to acknowledge all the folks who helped with putting this on. Also, HR folks who helped with the recognition awards and the beautiful watches. We're very appreciative of your help with that. So I think everybody will have lunch in the lobby, so that makes it easy. Beverly? Yes, thank you, Nance. We understand that the faculty are going to the LRC, so if you want to get up ahead of everybody. Sorry, the Senate, you have the Senate meeting, but if you need to get up and get your lunch so that you can go there and get started, that would be fine. So just want to thank everybody for your attendance. Thank you for your commitment, and I wish you a great rest of the day today and a wonderful start of classes. Thank you, everybody.